This is Reality Dispatch, written by Jim Mintz.
The train arrived in 6 minutes, and the target would get on board precisely as the doors closed. John had access to the Prevision CCTV, which was able to show the time before it occurred. It was a subscription-based service, isolated to those in the intelligence community. He watched the tapes at enormous cost to his employer, but he knew that the information he could potentially intercept, the cost would be worth it. He was cutting it fine, though. The tapes would only give access to short bursts in the future. The team knew there was to be an attack. That attack would be imminent. They had a name, a rough location, but they did not have an exact detail on that location nor the whereabouts of their target. "Willem McCaffrey," John reminded his understaffer. "Search all metro area CCTVs for him. You have his picture on the servers. Cross-check that with every male that walks into frame. Go, now! You only have 3 minutes." He remembered his demands and their complaints. How their city was overloaded with CCTV cameras. It would be next to impossible to run the Prevision software on all of them and lock down a location that would grant them the answer. John got lucky. He deduced a boundary 30 meters from the financial district. He chose that target because he figured that would be a target had he been in charge of the operation. Willem McCaffrey walked into frame 28 seconds later. He held a briefcase in his hand and managed to get on board at Silver Street Station, Platform 7, just in the nick of time as the doors were closing. "Keep watching," he yelled at his staff. "That train leaves Silver Street in 6 minutes. I'm going to make that train," he said, bolting out the door. He was being followed by 2 more agents, but he didn't bother to see who they were. Both were useless in this pursuit, was his feeling. He was a control freak by nature, an unloved man, untrusted in the profession. He yelled at passers-by as he stormed down the street. "MI7!" he would scream when the footpaths were blocked with slow walkers. "Police business! Move out of the way!" he would scream at others, guilty of the same time-snatching crime. He checked his watch on the run. 3 minutes. The station was at least 5 minutes on foot. But he was running. He picked up the pace, although his legs were protesting. He wasn't the fittest agent in the field, but he was determined. The underground escalator came into view as he turned down Spencer Lane. He ran out into oncoming traffic and was met with vicious horns. He didn't stop to look each way. Why bother? It would be worth dying, putting your life on the line to stop an attack. He knew this much. Onwards he ran. He shoved past old ladies and young children, degenerate teenagers, and jumped over the homeless, barely landing on his feet as he rushed to the next escalator that would take him further down into the earth. "Fucking move," he would say, but his lungs were devoid of air and he couldn't force them, no matter how angry or frustrated he was. The signs for the platforms came into view. A line formed at the final escalator, everyone in a rush to make the train. He estimated it was 60 seconds from leaving the platform. He knew he couldn't scream at them. He couldn't barge them out of the way. He'd kill half of them in the fall. He had no weapon, but he was desperate. Their lives depended on it. "Oi!" came the voice of authority. "You there, stop!" It was a cop. He didn't even have to turn around. It was a tough, big, angry cop looking for a spice-up in his otherwise quiet morning. "You stop right there, mate," the voice commanded. John stopped. He raised his hands, taking the opportunity to raise his lungs and suck in air that they desperately needed. "You got a bloody problem, do you, mate?" the voice said, gaining ground on him. Arms still raised, John swung round and clocked the officer square in the jaw, and watched as the uniformed man hit the polished floor harder than an iron dropped from a tall building, surprising even John with its ferocity. This was enough to cause a shock at the line building up at the escalator. Those who didn't move all of a sudden made sure to clear a path for him. He had his breath back, so he was able to scream at them. "Out of the bloody way," he yelled. They did as asked. He glanced at his watch. He could already hear the shrieking brakes of the train as it moved along the rail lines. 30 seconds. 29, 28, 27. John was still 25, 30 meters above ground. He jumped at the steps as they lowered him down, 2 at a time. He had his ankle clipped on one jump, almost sending him over the edge. He managed to stabilize himself and continue the run. The other agents by this stage had caught up with him. 5 seconds, John, one of them yelled. He turned to look. It was Adams, the rookie. His favorite. He was happy it was her. Well-trained, good instincts. He smirked. He made it to the bottom. His phone rang. McCaffrey was up ahead. Just as he was about to board, the doors were closing. John gained ground. Closer he ran. The doors narrowed. McCaffrey entered the cabin. John reached him just in time. He grabbed him by the collar and yanked him away as the doors slammed shut and the train began to pull away from the platform. It was McCaffrey, but something was different. He was smiling. "Prevision strikes again, right, Agent Donnelly?" he said. John frowned. He looked over his target. No bag, no briefcase. What was he carrying on the CCTV? The weapon? The phone continued to ring until John answered it. "Donnelly, they played us. The target is not the financial district, it's..." The line went dead. A rumble shook the walls of the underground. Car alarms could be heard going off above. "Oops, too late," laughed McCaffrey. "I knew you'd look for me, but you really shouldn't have," he said. "You took your eyes off the prize. We left the package in the MI7 offices all along," he said with a laugh. Donnelly grabbed his target by the collar and lifted him up in the air. Enraged, he wanted blood. Right there and then, he wanted death. He dragged McCaffrey over to the edge of the platform. McCaffrey continued to laugh with taunts. "There aren't any trains running today, Donnelly," he said as John held him over the edge. "The city is in lockdown after that explosion," he explained. A distant ringing at the end of the tunnel led to the blaring of a light that streamed through, perfectly timed. A train was approaching the station at half speed. Adams approached. "Prevision told us about a train stuck in the tunnel behind us. We radioed for it to be brought in," she said. "It's an express. It wants to get to the coast before the city is sealed shut." They both watched as the fear in McCaffrey's eyes grew. Donnelly held him out to be taken by the approaching train that rang its horn loudly on approach. He screamed, but the train was louder.
For more stories of fact-based fiction, head to jimmins.substack.com.